So good evening, and thank you for joining us for another Art After Dark session. My name is Adam Craig, Wellness Coordinator for the Living Well at Western program, and I'm proud to introduce our guest instructor for tonight's event, Bridget. So Bridget's going into her third year at Western and is currently working as a digital media designer through the ERC. She's represented Ontario and attended national camps in synchronized swimming, and she's also now a coach. So to say the very least, she's really talented and very busy, and we're very grateful to have her agree to lead some of these workshops for our program. And before I turn things over to Bridget, I just want to let all of our participants know that tonight's session is being recorded and will be posted on our Living Well at Western site and also our YouTube account. Her screens will be pinned, so all participants will not be viewable during the recording. And at the end of tonight's session, I'm also going to provide a code for our new internal wellness rewards program. So if you enter the code through MyHR through that portal, you're going to receive 75 points. And earning points increases your chances of being selected in our weighted monthly draw, where you can win prizes from some of our internal partners, like Great Hall Catering, the bookstore, Hospitality Services, and Mustang Athletics. And now over to Bridget.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. Sorry, is there an echo or am I good?
Oh, okay. You're good.
Okay, just making sure. I do have two Bridget Kozas connected right now. So if there's any technical issues, I'm sorry in advance. Yes, thank you for the introduction, Adam. We're at Western for visual arts and art history. So today I'm going to do a little workshop on how to do greeting cards. I know it's not the season for doing greeting cards just yet, but hey, I know the winter season gets pretty busy, so it's good to have these cards stashed away somewhere where you can reuse them again. So I'm just gonna share my screen. Am I able to do that, Adam? Oh yes, I am. Okay, great. Okay. Oops, we're on slide 4. Oopsie. So today we're going to, the goal of this session is to create get familiar with watercolor paints and explore different techniques, and also create cards which you can give to your friends and family and use them wherever necessary. So today we're going to need a lot of materials. If you don't have them, that's okay. It just makes things a lot more crisper and cleaner to have them. And if you don't have them, maybe scavenger hunt your house to go and find them real quick. So the first thing you'll need is painter's tape. So if you've ever painted the walls in your house, it's that green stuff. This will basically just hold down your watercolor paper and make sure it doesn't move around. So it's really helpful to have. Next thing, you can use scissors, but an X-Acto knife is actually better for cutting watercolor paper, just because it will make it more crisp and clean. So I also have an X-Acto knife here with me today. And then you'll also need a plastic plate or palette to mix your colors on. This is an acrylic palette, but I couldn't find my watercolor palette today, but any kind of dish or old plate that you have that you could use to mix on. Basically, you'll be putting, if you have the watercolor paints from the dollar store, which are in tubes, you'll have to put them on the tray and then mix the water on them. If you have the actual palettes with the paint on them, you'll still need kind of a tray to mix or water down the colors from the pigments. And then if you also have, I also have my watercolor markers out here today. I doubt that these are very hard to find, so I just brought them just in case. But these ones you will not need a palette for. You can just directly put them on your paper. And then, yes, as for paint brushes, you want kind of a thin brush. It kind of has to have really thin bristles. It could be a watercolor brush. It could just be a dollar store brush. Just make sure it's not like kind of, it's hard to describe, kind of harsh bristles, thick bristles, kind of like this one. So you're looking for some soft bristles. And the next thing you'll need is a black thin tip marker or a pen. This is basically just to go over designs after we do the watercolor. And then lastly, you'll need like a container. This is my old ugly container, but it's my lucky container. I paint all of my paintings with it. It's gone through some days and some very lots of colors. It's really gross, but I have it filled with water. And then then you'll need a paper towel. Sorry, this is a long list, but just a paper towel to clean up. If the water gets anywhere, you can clean it up. And also to change colors. When you're mixing colors, you want to wash it in water and then dry it on the paper towel. And then table salt. Actually, I forgot my table salt, but I'll quickly grab it when we need it. And that's basically going to do one of the techniques, which is kind of an interesting technique, but it actually makes a really nice result, a chemical reaction with the watercolor paints. You'll also need some cardstock paper. I said it was optional in the advertisement, which it is. But if you have it, it's really good for backing your card. So we'll basically be folding it and using it for the card section. And then you'll also need glue. I have either a glue stick. I also have this one from the dollar store I find really good for watercolor cards because it's almost mounts the card onto the cardstock. And then, yeah, so if you need any of those things right now, you can quickly go grab it. I'm actually going to quickly grab my salt and I'll be right back.
So I thought I'd just chime in really quickly too. So Living Well Western, actually, Bridget created our logo for our program. And if anyone happens to be on campus this week at our welcome events, so we're actually handing out those t-shirts. So Bridget, I was just telling them how you actually designed our logo for us.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Sorry for that. I just had to grab my table salt. Totally forgot about it. But yes, thank you for jumping in and mentioning that. I hope you guys like the logo. And thank you for that opportunity, Adam. Yeah, okay, so next thing we're gonna do is prep. So watercolor takes a lot of prepping. What I'm gonna do basically, actually I can turn on my other screen. And you will see down here, I have a piece of paper. I'm basically just going to fold it in half. Hot dog, or sorry, not hot dog way, but hamburger way. So like the thicker way, not the thin way. And I'm basically going to cut the center line here so that we have two little cards. And you can cut that now with scissors or an X-Acto knife. I'm just gonna cut mine with my X-Acto knife. Make sure you have a surface underneath of it. So I'm just going to take my normal cutting board, hold up here. Oh boy. Hold on a second. Sorry for the delay. I'm just trying to get my cutting board set up here. Okay. All right. So I have like a little surface underneath of it just so that I don't ruin my desk. And then I'm just either get like a ruler or a flat surface wherever my ruler went. I'm just gonna use literally anything. Let's see. There we are, found my ruler. Okay, so yeah, I have like a hard surface. I'm just gonna cut it down the center. So this beginning part, we're just prepping our cards. If you don't have cardstock, you can start prepping your watercolor cards. But basically, if you are using cardstock, I'm just cutting it down so we can save some paper. And then I'm just going to fold it in half, each half in half, so that it makes like a little card like so, that you can open and close it. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with the other one. So that's just step one. And make sure you fold it nice and tight. You can even grab a ruler and kind of press down on the creases so it's a nice flat fold with the ruler pushing down on that crease. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm pushing down. There. Okay. Now with one of the halves, I pre-cut mine, but basically you want to get your watercolor card or your watercolor paper. And on the side that is less rough, like it's more smooth. So if you feel the paper, I'll try and get up close. Oh, here. If you feel the paper is kind of rough, then that's the wrong side. You want to flip it up and it should be nice and smooth. That should be the side you should be working on. Anyways, so if you're marking down where you want to cut, you want to make sure you're doing it on the rough side. So if I'm cutting my watercolor card like so, I kind of want to leave about half a centimeter around the border on the length and the width. So you can measure that out. And how I usually cut, I make like a little tab on each side. So I'll measure like half a centimeter over here, and then I will make like a mark. And then I will go back to the bottom and make a mark at the same spot so that it's equal. And same for the other side, but this is like kind of perfectly cut. So then I will just remove it from the bottom and grab my ruler. And then when you're doing it, depending on the thickness of your watercolor paper, it might take a couple strikes to get a clean cut with your X-Acto knife. So I might need a couple. A good tip is just to maybe do one lightly with the X-Acto knife and then one with more pressure. So I'm going to do a light strike with my X-Acto knife and making sure it's lined up. My two dashes are lined up. And then I'm going to do a light one and then a kind of more pressured one. And that usually gets the trick. So it's always good to have like a ruler to be able to do that. And then it fits right in the center of your card. So that should be there. As for your paints and water, I kind of explained it before. Just make sure you have your water filled up, your paints ready to go. And if you have extra paper, which you should have, I have 2 cards here, then just put those aside and we will get started. Oh yeah, so for not for the first, you won't need to take down the first actually, yeah, you will need to take down, but I'll explain in a second. But basically, when you are doing the other 2 as well, you'll need to get your masking tape. And sorry, I'm just trying to get my tape going here. I'll just demonstrate while we have time. You're basically just going to have a flat surface And you're going to tape down about like halfway down and then fully, and just use the tape to keep it down so it's secure. Watercolor paper tends to fold a lot when you put the paint on it first. So this way we're making sure the paint doesn't move anywhere, it stays flat. And then basically once the surface is dry, you peel it on an angle. So you peel towards yourself and then you do it slowly so that the paper doesn't rip. And you can even reuse it sometimes if it's really good tape. I like to reuse it. It's like strong. Then I'll reuse it. But anyways, so that's what you need to do for just to get started. I know this seems like a lot at first to just get the ball going, but I'll give you a second to get yourself situated. As for the paints, today I'm going to be using, you can actually use whatever colors you want to use. For the first one, it'll be kind of random. Oh yes, okay, sorry, I'm just remembering another thing. And yeah, so once we're good, I'll move on. So for the warm up, you're gonna grab any extra pieces of paper you have that you're not going to be using for the cards. So I should have said you should have about, I have 2 cardstock cards and then 2 watercolor ones to match the cardstock. And then you should have 1 last white watercolor. The other half, if you did the same thing where you fold in half, cut it twice, the other half, you can fold that in half, and this one will actually be a full watercolor card itself. So you can use this, I don't know if that makes sense, but just use this one. And then any kind of leftover ones you have from cutting, you can use that as a test for our warm-up. So for our warm-up, we will be just getting used to the paint. A lot of you guys probably have never used watercolor paints before. So, and if you have, it's always good to just practice. It's been quite a long time since you've done watercolor, then you need to be able to get into it so you don't make any mistakes. A lot of artists do this with just scrap pieces of paper. One fun thing I like to do is actually just put it in circles and like test it out with circles. So I'm just honestly taking any kind of round surface, or you could just draw a circle yourself. But I'm just gonna trace the circle. Oh, this pencil's not working. I'm just gonna trace a circle. And in the circle, I'll be doing a technique. So I just drew a circle on my page. You can just grab whatever piece of paper you have. And sometimes I like to mix it up. I'll do big circles, small circles, whatever is available to you. If you don't even have anything to trace with, just do try and do a circle. I sometimes use my masking tape as circles too. And then this way you kind of just keep each little technique in a circle. Oopsie. It doesn't have to be pretty. This is just the warm-up. But sometimes the warm-up looks really pretty. So you can draw as many circles as you want. And for this one, yeah, you can probably tape it down. It is just a warm-up. If you want to tape it down, that's also totally cool. I'm just finishing drawing my circles. You only really need to do like 4 minimum circles. And you can use a pencil to draw those circles. So where's my eraser? I got a lot of things on my desk right now, so excuse me if I'm a little disoriented. I'm just erasing some of the lines of the circles. Okay, so this is what my thing looks like. I hope you can see that. It's a little bright. They basically got some circles there. Okay, and in those circles, we're gonna do a different technique. So you can choose whatever color you want to start off with. I'm gonna start using my my liquid watercolors rather than the pigmented ones. And I'm just gonna put like literally one drop, like very, very small. You don't need too much watercolor. When you're mixing watercolors, it's literally, it's not like acrylic where you need a lot. It's like one drop because it's highly pigmented, and you have to water most of it down. So I have one drop on my palette right now. And then I'm going to take my water brush. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to mask mine down. Everybody mask your thing down if you're going to do so. If you have already masked it down, awesome, you are a superstar. I'm just gonna quickly mask mine down. So I just do all four corners. Really quickly, so I don't eat up too much time. I haven't bought a greeting card in so long, so trust me, learning how to do watercolor cards will save you a lot of money. If you and people appreciate them a lot. Okay, so I've taped it down with my masking tape, and I've got my paint on my palette. Now I'm going to grab my watercolor brush. I actually have this fun little watercolor brush that has water in it, and then you just kind of squirt it, and then it comes out the other end, and you mix it with the watercolor. But you want to have, so the first technique, we're going to use a lot of water. So the first thing you're going to do is dip your brush into your water, and then you're just going to fill one of the circles completely with water on the circle. And then you're going to take your water while it's still wet on the circle. You're going to take your water and you're going to dip it in the blue water or the liquid water. And then you're just going to do like one dot or a couple dots in the center of the circle. And it should make like a really interesting kind of technique in that circle. And just doing like little dots, and it makes like a really interesting kind of technique. Oh, that looks, yeah. And then it just kind of, it will separate as you put the pigment in, it will start to separate just like the picture on my PowerPoint. So exactly like that. You can do another one if you want. I'm going to do another one. Maybe do a different color. I might choose like, I don't know, maybe I'll mix the blue with red to get some purple for Western. So I'm putting a little bit of red and mixing it with my blue this time. Also, if you choose to switch colors, make sure you dip it in the water and then dry it on the paper towel. Okay, and then, yeah, same thing again. I'm just going to fill one of my circles completely with just plain water, no color, and then dry it. And then with my color pigment, I'm going to mix it with water. And here we are. And then I'm just going to do little dabs, little droplets on the water, and it will look kind of, it'll be very faint, but it will look really cool because the waters are like slowly mixing together. All right. Okay, so the next one is wet paint on dry paper. So instead of putting the water on first, we're just going to have a dry brush. Sorry, not dry brush, but a little dry paper. And we're just going to get the water into the watercolor, mixing a little bit of watercolor. And then in one of your circles, you're just gonna fill it. And it will have a different look. It'll be more kind of that aesthetically pleasing watercolor look you're used to. And this one's good for layering. So the first coat will usually be very light, but if you want it to be darker, you let it dry and then you put another coat on top. Or you can, like, if it's too late at first, you can just grab more pigment and then you can put like little dots in it and it'll get darker. Okay, and you can do a couple more if you want to explore with that one more. I'm going to do a little bit more. Mine's looking really interesting right now. Not the way I expected it to look, but that's totally okay. You don't have to use multiple colors. You can just fill the page with one if you really want. I'm going to actually draw another circle here so I have more space for more techniques. Yeah. And if you find your brush gets really dry, just add more water to the pigment and then paint it on. Now, the thing with watercolor is it's kind of permanent. So you really want to make each stroke, like you want to act fast. If you start something, if you kind of mess up, if it goes outside the circle, quickly grab your paper towel and just dab around it. If not, that's part of the experiment. There's no mistakes in art. You just kind of let things happen. I'm just going to do another circle real for fun. Okay. Now we're going to try the salt technique. This is basically the wet paint on dry paper, but as it's drying, we're going to grab some salt and we're going to put it on our hand and then sprinkle it over top. So I'm going to grab my water and then I'm going to put in my paint pigment. I'm going to draw another. I'm going to grab a bigger brush actually, just because I want to do a bigger circle. So it's good to have a variety of brushes even in watercolor because you'll sometimes use bigger brushes for the background and smaller brushes for the foreground. So I'm just going to, oh, it's not enough paint. There we go. So make sure it's very pigmented. You don't want too much water. You want more paint in this kind of one because you'll see the reaction better. So I'm just going to mix here. And then as it's still wet, even if it's still drying pretty fast, maybe add a little bit of water. And then you're going to grab your salt onto your hand. And you're just going to sprinkle it around. And as it lands on the color, you'll see the salt start to absorb the colors of the paint. So you really, when you're working with the salt technique, you want it to be very dark, very pigmented, in order to see the salt to pick up the colors. So let the salt on, don't take it off until it's completely dry. And then once it's completely dry, you'll start to see that kind of grainy texture that it gives. I'm going to do another circle and I'm going to make it more pigmented because that one wasn't very pigmented. So And by pigmented, I kind of mean like rich in color. So I'll do another one that's really rich in color. It might take a couple of strokes and a couple of dabs. And then once it looks really rich, you're gonna grab the salt again in your hand, and then you're just gonna sprinkle it in that circle. You can do a lot or you can do a little, it's up to you. But this one's a really nice technique that looks good on all greeting cards. It will look really cool. Oh, I totally forgot about the white crayon. So I mentioned this in the intro. You're gonna grab a white crayon and you're actually going, or a pastel. If you have a pastel, then that's totally cool too. You're just going to just draw like lines or circles or something into the circle with the crayon on the paper directly. I'm just going to do like little circles within the circle. And I know it sucks you can't see it, so you kind of have to remember where you draw it, or you can just let your draw randomly and just see how it looks. It's this kind of warm-up exercise is all about experimentation and seeing what you can do, seeing how you can mix paint and stuff. So then once you've drawn on the crayon, you're gonna grab your paint and you're gonna paint over the circle. And like magic, you'll start to see your circles over top. It almost works right away. So you should be able to see that white crayon over top. All right. So, and you can keep exploring with that. If you feel like you want to explore more designs, you can draw more circles. There's definitely a lot you can do with watercolor. You just need to kind of practice quite a bit. I'm going to do one more circle just to show how to blend colors, because we will need to know that for our next thing. I'm going to blend a green and a blue. So I'm just going to put my green on the palette. And then I'm going to make sure my brush is clean. I'm going to put down some blue. And usually you can just do dry. You can do either or. You can do wet on dry or wet on wet. And basically you mix one half. You got to make sure and then when you're mixing, you got to do it kind of fast so that the water doesn't dry. You want to mix and you want to put some water on that border line between the two. So the blue, at the end of the blue, I'm just going to put a little bit of water. Then I'm going to dry my brush and I'm going to grab water again and then mix my green. So grabbing my green pigment, and then at the other side, I'm going to add the green pigment or the green paint, and then it will easily blend right with the blue. And you can do little swirly motions, and if it's still not blending, then grab the blue and then just dab on the blue in that little border line, and it should blend. All right. Okay. So you can let that dry a little bit, but we'll have to move that out of the way for our next thing. We're gonna actually get into the cards now. So our first card, we're gonna make this kind of birch tree looking card, I guess. And we're going to, it's really simple. We're going to be using that, what I mentioned that before, that color, just the watercolor. And you'll be folding it in half, however you like it. Don't feel like you need to follow it like specifically. Like if you want to do multiple gradients, you want to do multiple boxes, and however you feel. If you don't know what you want, you want to just copy it, that's totally fine too. But yeah, you're gonna fold it in half, and when you're folding watercolor paper, you want to make sure you're really on the line, and then also folding very slowly so that there's no big creases. I find it helps to actually grab a ruler. I showed this at the beginning, but have a ruler and fold it down that crease line. Make sure your ruler is clean when you do that though, because it will show. Okay, so I have my card folded here. I'll move, now that my thing is, my warm-up exercise is now clean, I'm just going to remove the tape on an angle. And since my masking tape's kind of thick, I'll probably be reusing it. But yeah, pulling on an angle, making sure you're not picking up any paper, because it tends to happen. And again, on this angle as well. So you can see here, my salt has dried and it's made this really cool reaction. You can just kind of flick off the salt and it will go off. As for the crayon, it's made, I just do random circles and it's kind of come out really nice. This was the wet on wet paper. And you can see the difference between the wet on dry paper. So the wet on dry paper is going to be much more richer and solid, and then the wet on wet is going to be more watery and watercolor like. Okay, so I'm just going to put that aside, let it dry. And now I have my card folded in half for the first one. I'm going to grab my masking tape and I'm going to try and do a nice rectangle box on my paper with the masking tape. So this, we're actually putting it like on the on more, and not as a border, like the border will be very small. And you can do the however big you want it. I'm gonna do mine I'll do mine fairly big. And you want to make sure it's in line with the card, the borders of the card. And I'm just going to tape the sides to make my box. I'll make my box fairly big. And if your box is small, then you could also tape the sides down. But if you can see here, I just have, oh, that's kind of uneven. I'll make that even. Here we are. Yeah, and then just make sure it's even. If you want, you can measure it out. If you want to be very precise, I'm not going to be very precise, but that option's there for you too. Then you're going to choose your colors. I might go for, I kind of like the blue, the bluey red they got going, but my red is kind of more orangey red. So I kind of want to get, I think I might do kind of a orangey, like sunset vibe. So I'm going to grab my yellow and my orange and my red. Same deal. I'm just going to put a dab of watercolor paint, not too much. Sweet. And then I'm going to make sure my brush is clean. So use your your paper towel to wash it. And then I'm just going to start at the bottom with my yellow. And like I showed the green and blue demo, I'm just going to add the yellow here at the bottom. And also you can feel free to use the salt technique with this one, or the wet on dry, or the wet on wet. You can use whatever technique. We're just filling the box, so it doesn't have to be too fancy. I'm gonna do, and then at the top, I'm gonna do the red. So I don't know if you can see that all right. I apologize for the weird setup. I don't really have the best setup at home. And I imagine everyone feels the same with their jobs. All right. And then as I get closer to that border line, again, I'm gonna grab some water and just kind of have that border line very watery. And then so that way the colors can blend together. And I'm doing kind of circly motions so that it's not like aggressive. It's just very light and gentle, and adding like little dabs of water here and there. And the more layers you put on, the more pigmented it will be. So if you find it's not pigmented enough, just go back again and put more layers on top. Okay. If you're putting a lot of layers on and the paper's actually starting to get very damaged, then you should stop putting watercolor. It means it's too wet and you need to let it dry, and you need to start when it's dry. Watercolors have an interesting way of communicating to you. Okay. Now that they're kind of blended together, I'm going to just add a little bit of water droplets. It's better to do this with like kind of a bigger brush so that you get lots of color, lots of paint. And then I'm going to, I kind of did like a fiery one. And then I'm going to grab my salt, like I did in warm up, and just kind of sprinkle it on. You don't have to do the salt if you don't want to. I personally love doing the salt, so it's fun to watch the chemical reaction, and it also does look really cool at the end. Okay. So now just let that dry until we can take the tape off. And it should take around like a couple minutes to dry. While we wait, I left a little space for me to do that, like, thank you for always being there. So I will just do that. If you're not the best at calligraphy, I suggest getting a pencil and just kind of drawing over with pencil, and then tracing over with pen, and then erasing the pen once you've done the pencil. Or if you don't want to do calligraphy at all, just print it out on your computer, and or you can use stamps. I actually have stamps here that I may use. I do have stamps. So I usually like to use my stamps for my thank you cards or whatever. It does look a lot cleaner. I bought these at like Yisk, so like you can literally get stamps anywhere. I just didn't do them. I didn't take them out just because I wanted to use things I found at home. But yeah, I'm just gonna quickly grab my stamps while I wait for my thing to dry. There we go. So I highly recommend going to like Michael's or Walmart and getting some stamps if you really feel the passion for card making, because it will save you a lot of time. If not, try your best to do the nicest thank you you can. with your hand writing. Or you could get someone in your house just who has nice handwriting to do it for you. So yeah, with my stamps, just stamping it on the little stamp pad and putting it on the bottom. Sweet. Okay. It's kind of messy because I've been going a little fast, but I'm not too worried. Okay. And I might just do a little for always being there. Or I'll just do a little heart or something. Okay, so it's not dry yet, so I might just wait a couple seconds. I can quickly move this. Yeah, if it's not dry, we'll just wait because we'll do the black pen on top. Just looking at the time, we might move on to the next card and we'll come back to it if it's not dry. So for the, if yours isn't dry as well, just put it aside carefully and we'll move on. If you had enough time, it's dry, you can start drawing that. I'll do a demonstration on how to draw the trees afterwards. Okay, so for the next one, you're gonna grab a card and you're gonna tape it down. Again, looking at the corners. I apologize for I just noticed the time now, so I'll just do this one quickly and we'll get to the last one, hopefully. So yeah, I'm gonna tape it down. We're gonna do a nice spring one. This one's kind of more of a casual greeting card. This one you can use to congratulate someone, or I don't know, however you want to use it. Or a Mother's Day card, it could be a great Mother's Day card. So this one, we're gonna make some flowers. What you're gonna do is you're gonna need your red paints, pigment on your palette, and you're gonna grab your water, and you're just going to make a rough circle on your page with the red. So you're gonna grab your red. It's gonna be dry on, it's gonna be wet paint on dry. So a circle, and maybe you can do 3 while we're at it. You don't wanna do your whole page just yet because you want the pigment to still be wet. So do about, let's see, we'll make mine a bit bigger. They can be like the size of a quarter size circles. That helps for reference. Then make sure they're fairly pigmented, fairly wet. You can layer them a bit. I'm gonna layer mine a bit so that they're more organic. There we go. And then actually, I'm just gonna do the whole page. I think it'll be okay. Just make sure they're very pigmented, very wet, and you're working really fast. And you can go off the edge a bit. You don't have to keep them all on the edge, all contained. They can come out in the corners. They can be wherever you like them. It's kind of a more abstract piece. And you don't want to fill it up too much because you want to leave space for the leaves. And make sure each circle is kind of fairly wet. Okay, now you're going to clean your brush really quickly, and you're gonna grab the yellow pigment, yellow color. And in the center of each, you're gonna make sure it's wet. So you're doing a wet on wet technique here. And you're gonna make sure there's lots of yellow, lots of water. And in the center, you're just going to dab the yellow in the center of each flower. Just little dabs. Trying not to mix way too much because you don't want the colors to mix on your palette. Just small dabs and you should start to see the colors mixing with the red, the yellow mixing with the red.
Hey, Bridget.
Yeah.
I know our first workshop was only an hour. This one's scheduled for an hour and a half, so I'm not sure if you have more time than you think.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. Yeah, I still have one more card after this. So
okay.
I just want to make sure we're getting through it and that we are able to get all the cards done.
Perfect.
Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, so I'm just putting it in the center. If I'm going too fast too and you have questions, I will also look in the chat. So just make sure if you ever need help, just to pop the question in the chat. And yeah, I'm gonna keep going. As you can see, the one poppy is already swelled out to the whole thing. If you put enough yellow pigment, it will spread out more. If you find it's not spreading enough, it will automatically spread. So just give it time. And if it isn't automatically spread, then just add more paint or more water. Okay. So now you can see mine, it's more, I'll try and get up close. Okay. I don't think I can because my board's too big, but you can see I did the circles. Okay, now for the center, while it's still wet, you're gonna clean your brush. You're gonna grab black. You don't want too much black because black, it will be very, it will go dark very quickly. It will spread very fast. So we just need, grab like a very small brush. I'm grabbing my smallest brush here. It's like a 6 or it's lower than a 6, probably like a 4. And just a small dab of black with a lot of water. Make sure there's a lot of water in a small dab. And you're literally just gonna do 1 drop, and it seems crazy, but it will spread. It will spread really fast. And you're gonna do 1 drop in the center. And it will spread. And it's kind of, the neat thing about watercolors is you don't really have to do much work. It just does the work for you. Okay. So I did my black dots. If you want a darker dot, you can obviously add more pigment. I'm just adding a little droplets to get that kind of poppy color, kind of pigmented. Alrighty. Now for the leaves, we're gonna do kind of that blending method again. You're gonna have to make them more ovally rather than circles. And we're gonna be using the yellow and the green. So with the green, we're going to take the green and we're gonna do wet on dry. So we're just gonna do maybe like 1 stroke. I usually do, or like 2, like 1 stroke and then another stroke to make kind of an ovally shape. And then with the yellow, I'll go over top of the green so that the yellow pushes the green kind of to the back. Or vice versa, you can start with a yellow leaf. I'm doing kind of a yellow leaf here. And then at the back, I'm switching my colors. So I'm going to switch to my green now. and I'm going to go over top of the yellow with the green, and it should mix automatically. All right. So you can do them however you like. They'll both ways are fine. But yeah, or you don't even have to blend them at all. But yeah, just make like one stroke, then the other. Switch colors. And then add the other second color. You could also do something similar to what we did with the flowers, where we did red, then yellow, then black. So you could do all green, all yellow, and then add the second color after you're done. So I think I might do that because that was efficient. So I'm gonna go in with my yellow everywhere and then add actually no, I'll go in with my green everywhere. I might make my green a slight darker just with my blue. Adding a little bit of blue will make your green a bit darker. So I'm gonna have like a darker green over here. And yeah, just repeating the same thing over and over, doing little oval leaf shapes. You can even add like a little stem at the bottom. And try and make the leaves in different directions so that it's kind of more abstract. But you can do it however you like. It doesn't have to be the same repetition. That's the neat thing about watercolor. It doesn't really have to follow a specific pattern. And you can go off the edges since we have the masking down. You can go however you like. Hopefully you guys are keeping up. I'm not going too fast. Okay. After I've done all the green, I'm just going to move on to the yellow. Add a little yellow. You could also do the same, maybe even add a darker green wherever you like. So just going in with the yellow. I'm usually putting my yellow at the bottom of the leaf where the stem is of the leaf, just because that generally is lighter. And you'll start to see the colors kind of mix really nicely together. And again, if you mess up, just quickly grab your paper towel, put some, if it's like a color spill, just like kind of shift the paper towel so it stays in the direction. If it's like a water droplet spill, then just kind of dry it, then get some water, put some water on it, and then dry it again. Kind of like you're getting a stain out of clothing. Think about it. I'm gonna do one last leaf, just get a little bit darker, going over my leaves with a little darker color. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. That's the beauty of watercolor is you can just do a stroke, or you can have a droplet of water, or you mess up anyway, and it will still look good. It's an excellent way to start learning how to paint, especially if you're learning water, like acrylics. It's very good to kind of get comfortable with paint and mixing. You also have to act quite fast when you're doing watercolors because the paint dries very quickly. So just keep making it until you're really pleased with it, if it looks good. However, you can even have some of the leaves overlapping the poppies. Just make sure the poppies are dry, otherwise the colors will start to blend. So that's another thing. If you're overlapping things, you have to make sure the bottom color is dry. If you're blending things, that's totally fine. Like the poppy, that's totally fine to be blended. You kind of want them to be blended. But for the leaves and the poppies, you want to make sure the poppies are dry and then the leaves. So that if you're going over top of the poppies with the leaves or vice versa, that the colors don't mix and you don't have brown poppies. Okay. So this is my final thing. I'm going to let it dry just a little bit more on a separate piece of cardstock. So I'm actually going to use a random piece of cardstock I have. Actually, I'll be right in a second. I'm gonna grab one color. Okay. So I'm just gonna cut with, actually, I'll just take this out because it's fairly dry. So I'm peeling on an angle again, making sure I don't rip the paper. If yours isn't dry, just hold up for a second. Or you can just, I'm just moving mine because I want to show you how to do the spring on, by the things on top of it. So now that it's done, I'll show you what it looks like. Like that, very summery. And I'm going to actually mount it onto this cardstock, so this pink cardstock. And I just kind of want to position it on top just so I know what it looks like. I'm not going to glue it down just yet because it's not dry yet. But I'm going to grab some of my scrap paper. I'm just going to cut. Actually, I might use, or you can use whatever color. Okay, they have white, so I'm going to grab white. Or green. Maybe green will be green. Okay. So actually, yeah, I'll do the white. I like the white, or it's kind of a cream color. I'm just gonna cut a strip off of this. So you can just look at the top. This one's easy. It's easy when there's like a clean edge. You can just measure that. It'll probably be like an inch thick. All right. And just so like that, it goes across. I might actually do another color. So I might do a green, just because I think that will look good on top of each other. You can layer them however you want. I'm gonna do the green one. I'm gonna cut it a little bit bigger than the white, so you can see my white on top here, and I'll make like a kind of a band of green and white. I'm just cutting it. If you don't have cardstock, you can just use colored paper, however you like. And you can kind of play around with how you want it to mount. All right, so I might do something like that. Okay, and then I'll just cut it to make sure. I'll measure and cut it so that it looks good. And I'll just make marks with my pencil. I won't actually directly cut it. on there. There we go. Okay. So now with these two, green and cream, I'm just going to glue them together. That rhymes, green and cream. Just notice that. And I'm just gonna glue them with my glue stick. I'm gonna make it a little off center so it's a little artsy. Like so. Sweet. So that's what it looks like. And then on my card, I will just go on top. So now that my watercolor is fully dry, I'm gonna grab my card. And I actually have this handy dandy glue thing. It's called a glue tape. So it's in between glue and tape. And you can get this at the dollar store. Highly recommend. Great for scrapbooking. If you're a scrapbooker, like this will like save you so much time. I'm just gonna flip it over and just tape it down. This is the best thing for watercolor cards, just so. And then I'm going to place it accurately. If you want, you can also use a ruler for this part, but I kind of just eyeball it. And I just kind of lightly press down so it makes sure it sticks. And voila. I actually like to write on the card and then place it on. And just in case I make a mistake on the writing, I don't have to rip it off the card. So I might use my stamps again just to put like, I don't know. Actually, I'll handwrite. I'll try and do it. I'll try and calligraphy here. I might be doing this with a pencil instead. But I'm just going to do a fancy little spring. I'm going to try and copy the one on the screen. The one on the screen is actually, they used a Cricut. I don't know if you guys have heard of a Cricut before, but it's like a light laser cutter, and it cuts out paper in like fancy designs. It's really cool for card making and really efficient. So I highly recommend that if you want to get into card making. I'm not that much of a card making enthusiast, so I haven't spent the money on it, but I definitely will in the future. I'm restarting mine and re-erasing it. It wasn't very aesthetically calligraphy. I might need to use my stamps because I haven't done cursive in a while. I got it. I'm good. I wish they taught me cursive in school. There we go. So now with my Sharpie, I'm just going to do the design as best as I can. I won't spend too much on it just because we got another card to do, but you're more than welcome to spend as much time as you want on this part. You want to make sure it's legible, unlike mine. Oh boy. That's okay. Yikes. Yeah, so not the best at cursive, but the more you do, the better you'll get. So just need to practice more. And yeah, try your best to replicate it. If it's not the same, you can just do your own little font. It doesn't have to be cursive. That's the beauty of greeting cards. If it messes up, then you can just make it into something else and it still will look pretty. You can even get stickers. I find I end up just getting, I cheat. I get stickers and stamps and whatnot instead of actually trying the cursive writing. Sorry for the delay. I'm not the best at cursive. I hope your cards are looking great. We got lots of good figure drawings at our last workshop. So I believe in the skills of Western faculty and staff. All right, that's as good as it's gonna get, I think. Unless I fix this over here. My R is kind of weird, but whatever. I'm actually going to use, do I have it? Oh yes, I do have it. I have a white pen. So I'm just going to use my white pen. Oh, it doesn't work. I have a silver pen. I might use that. No, doesn't work. Oh well, I'll just use my black pen. I'm just gonna write hello. Hello, spring. Even though it's not spring, we can pretend it's spring. Or you could do hello, autumn, hello, fall. All right. So I'm just going to mount that on. You can see here. I'm also going to erase my ugly writing. And then I'm just going to use my tape. And mount it somewhere in the center. Beautiful. Yay. So there's the card. I'll probably fix up this writing because I kind of messed up, but there is one card down. Woo, okay. Now that the other card's dry, we'll go back to the first card. This one, we will rip off the, or not rip them off, but take off the masking tape carefully, of course. And on the corner, we will start, mine's, I think it's dry. Yeah, it looks dry. Actually, I don't know, mine's not quite dry just yet. Okay, I'm just going to give it a couple more. I'll let it dry a little bit more. We'll go to the next one. The last one we're going to do is super quick. It's not as slow or as tedious as the other two. You're going to grab your white crayon. Oh yeah, this one, and we're going to make kind of a flowery design. You don't have to make this specific card design. There are other options. You can do kind of a butterfly one. You can do a flower one, however you like. while I'm talking here, I'm just taping down my next watercolor card. All of my tapes. So just taping down each corner. If you're still working on a card, that's totally fine. Take your time and then just catch up when you can. This will also be available online, so you can watch it whenever you want. So I just taped this one down. I'm actually going to do, so there's flower one here, but I might do a butterfly one. I think I'm feeling the butterfly today. So you're gonna grab your crayon. You can draw the flower ones, they're much more easier. You can do whatever you're more comfortable with. The flowers will probably be easier, just it's gonna be very difficult if you can't see it. It's kind of like blind drawing. So if you do have like good lighting, you'll be able to see the grease marks of the oil pastel. But just try your best. I know it's hard because you can't draw with pencil. Otherwise, the pencil, you can't erase it. The grease will make the pencil permanent. So just try your best to freehand it. If you make a mistake, that's totally fine, but try your best. I'm gonna do like little butterflies. You can even practice it on a piece of paper if you feel like you need to do a little practice. If you look kind of on this, you should be able to see like little marks of where it is. I'm just going to do little butterflies. Sorry about the first one, we will get back to. I just need, we need to let it dry a little bit more. So feel free to take your time with the crayon one. Draw flowers, butterflies. You can draw snowflakes. This one looks really good with snowflakes too. If you want to do like a winter theme one, that's also good for the holidays. I'm gonna do butterflies just because I don't know, they're pretty cute. And once it, like we did in the warm-up exercise, after you put the white crayon on and put the paint over top, it's gonna make a cool reaction. It's gonna make that same kind of design that we warmed up with. I might even do like little swirls or little flowers or dots or stuff as well, just to fill the space. Maybe some little butterflies in the corner. And once you're done, you've added what you wanted to add. Then I might add a little actually more over here. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. Okay, now you're gonna grab your thickest brush. If you want to do a gradient like the ones on the screen, they have like a yellow to blue to purple. Actually, kind of like that look. So I might do yellow to blue to purple, just because it's pretty. And I'm just gonna grab my yellow, my blue I already have, and then my purple. Beautiful. Right. My purple's having a hard time getting out of its tube. Hold up for a second. Here we are. There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna go with a little bit of yellow in this corner. And then maybe a little green. And again, I'm doing that blending technique that I mentioned at the beginning. Grabbing lots of water and painting over top. Now you can see my butterflies. Woo! For this one, you do kind of want to blend it. It does look good when you blend it. I'm going to do my magenta. And you can see the butterflies that I drew now. This one's a hard one to demo because you can't see it. Can't see it through the computer screen. But there we are. I'm going to add a little bit more blue. You should be able to see it. There, wonderful. You can see my butterflies. Okay. Yeah, that was a bit of a tricky one because I couldn't really see where my butterflies were. But I'm gonna let that dry a little. And I'm going to do actually the happy birthday on the front. I'm gonna grab a black, oh wait, I don't have black. I will use white. I'll use that same cream that I had cut before. And I'm just going to do a little happy birthday in the corner. I'm going to cut this cream in half to make it a bit thinner. And we have 5 minutes left, so hopefully we can get this one done. If you have to go, that's totally cool. If you want to stick around and finish, that's awesome. I'll try my best to get to the tree one. If not, you can try the tree one on your own. I will still stick around to do the tree, just to see if we can get it in. This one, I'm just cutting a triangle out of the cream paper like that. And then I'm going to measure out where it will go. I'll put it probably in the bottom corner. And I'm just going to write in all caps, happy birthday. Sweet. Sorry, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I like it to be very neat and organized. There we are. Okay, so that's gonna go there. This is fairly dry, so I will take it off. And carefully though, it is still a bit wet. See, there you go. Okay, now that I have my butterflies, I'm going to grab my card and put, oh, that's not the right size. Place it on my card. This is a little bit narrower than I expected, so I'm going to cut mine a bit. Make sure it's on the right side that it opens. And then I'm just gonna tape the back. All right, and then I'm cutting mine just a bit because it's a little bit uneven. And when you're taping it down, just do like kind of a box, or if you're taping it down, you should put like one in each corner to mount it. Okay, so I've put it on my card backing now. And then I'm just going to put happy birthday in the corner, maybe over here. Again, I'm gonna use my mounting tape. Actually, it may not be dry enough yet, but if it is dry, go for it. I'm gonna have mine kind of go right off the page. So it's artsy. Maybe I'll do it up here. I know here still. There, and then I'll probably just cut it like so. Voila, another artsy little happy birthday card. Okay, we have 2 minutes left to do the last one, so I believe we can do it. Back to the first one. Woo! All right, so I'm gonna grab a better pen. More jellier pen. Okay, so the way to do it is I like to kind of turn it onto the side and draw it kind of like a tree. And then, or you can leave it the same or like kind of an angle. But I'm going to start in the corner and I'm going to go towards the box and just making kind of a straight line. And then you're going to kind of curve the line off to the side. If there's salt on it too, just kind of flick the salt off. I'm going to just flick the salt. Shake the salt off so it's easier to draw. Even blowing it off too will help. And then I'm going to curve off to the side and then I'm going to just keep branching out. I'm going to draw another branch and then branch out. Kind of like you're drawing like a tree diagram. And then this one I'm going to branch out. So each kind of branch has its own mini branch. You can make the main one a bit thicker. And then you kind of make the bottom more triangular and then make it thinner as it goes out. And you're going to keep doing that. You can add another branch. I think there's 3 in the demo, so we will do 3. And just, yeah, you like make little branches outwards and then you just keep making little mini branches on them. So branch, branch. And you can make it thicker at the base and then make it thinner as it goes out. So it starts thick and then gets really thin. So I'm just, oopsie. Some of the salt's getting in the way. So. And they can be as long as you want. I'm going to do one more branch. I'm going to make it curve down a little. And so that it's like the picture. And once you're done your branches, You can also make a branch that kind of goes down too. I just noticed that branch that kind of goes down. So I'm gonna make it like go down a bit. Add more over here. Okay, now that you're done branching out, you're gonna grab probably a thicker one or the same one and just draw like circles on the branches. And they can be the leaves, act as the leaves. I'm doing kind of like 3 on each branch. They have some that are bigger, some that are smaller, so you can have a variety. Maybe make some big and some small on the branch. But yeah, and that's how you do it. I'm just gonna finish up here and then we'll be done. Woo! Here we go. I'm a bit of a, again, I'm a perfectionist. I need to finish. Always need to finish. All right, and then there you have it. You can see the little dots that I added here. All right, so we have the thank you card, the happy birthday, and the spring. All righty. Now you have cards to give to your family. And that is the end of it, I believe. Yay, you did it.